Welcome back to another episode of the Brick by Brick podcast. You know what time it is. It is God Move time. I am very excited about today's podcast because I am diving into a conversation that I have been struggling with, and I have been in the process of actually getting to know more about what really matters to me, right? So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about priorities, and I think this will help you out. It can literally shape the course of your life, because what you give your attention to, oftentimes, that's the thing that predicts your future. I want to ask some important questions before we go any deeper, right? I want to ask you, what is important to you? Not what sounds good, of course. I'm not talking about that. Not what you think is important based on what TikTok or Instagram told you, but what actually takes up your time, what takes up your energy, and what takes up your focus. Because if you haven't realized already, your life is not shaped by what you say matters or what you wish matters. Your life is shaped by what you prioritize. So if you say your family is important and don't check up on them and be there for them, I don't think your family is that important to you. Just to break it down to you, bro. If you say you value health and you drink to a point of blacking out and you don't eat well and exercise, I had to break it down to you. Health is not that important to you. If you say you want a meaningful connection with your partner or your friends, or maybe even start a new relationship with someone, and at the point of them disagreeing with you or them going against what you believe, you cut them out, then I don't think you are very interested in deepening your connection. I don't think you prioritize that. Because if you were, you would invest in having those deep conversations about things that you disagree with, right? So here's what I think. I think life doesn't happen to us. I think life does. Life just doesn't happen to us. We are either living with intention or we're just reacting to whatever comes our way. The difference between a life of purpose and a life of regret is what you pay attention to, what your priorities are. So today, I am going to talk about this topic because it's really personal to me. As you might maybe noticed if you listen to this podcast a lot, I have not uploaded a single episode in the last 3 weeks. And that is because I said that this podcast is very important to me because I'm learning a lot through this process. It's very important to me, but I didn't prioritize it. I wish that this podcast was important, but that's about to change because I've learned a lot throughout this series, throughout this process of preparing this episode. So today, we're going to talk about why priorities matters and why misplacing them can leave you lost. And by the end of this episode, my goal is that you take a step back and really think about what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to, because what you say yes to is just as important as what you say no to. Because if you do not take control of your life, you do not take control of your priorities, life will decide that for you. And trust me, you don't want to wake up one day realizing that you've spent all these years chasing an idea, chasing a goal, chasing something that you thought was important to you. It wasn't. It was something that was taught to you or given to you by the world. So today's conversation is going to be a real conversation, right? And in this series, the priorities series, we'll talk about priorities, what's important, how to identify them, and so on and so forth. It's easy to say what matters to you, but oftentimes you can tell what is important to people by the actions that they choose to take. Actions speak so loud. There's a saying that says, and I might butcher this, but I'll give it a try. There's a saying that says, your actions speak so loud, what you say I cannot hear, which is why it's so easy to tell who is real and who's not by the action, how consistent they are. If you claim you love such and such a thing, well, prove it. Prove it with your actions, right? If you say your health is important, well, prove that as well. If you say you want to be disciplined, well, prove that. Act like a person who's disciplined. If you say you want to live a life that is fulfilling, that is deep, that is full of experiences, embrace the both sides of life, the good and the bad. If you run away at the point of discomfort, then I had to break it to you, man. You're just interested in feeling the good, being fueled by the good part of life. And that's not how life works. Life comes in both shades, man. Comes with the good and the bad. And you gotta embrace them both, because that's where the lessons are. We live in a world, I've been thinking about this lately because I also kind of felt in this trap, and I'm trying my best to get out of it. We live in a world that constantly tell us what to do, right? We live in a world that constantly tell us who to be, what to achieve, who to be in a relationship with, what type of success to have, all those type of things. It tells you all these things. Social media is filled with a lot of images of success, the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect body, all these things. And if you're not careful and you follow those things, you will fall into a trap of choosing someone else's version of success. Have you ever thought about what not to do? Like, the world tells you what to do, what to be, and all this kind of stuff. Have you ever thought about, just sat down and thought about what not to do? We all know about the obvious don'ts of life, right? We know that you're not supposed to commit crime, right? Don't commit crime, right? Don't do anything that brings danger to you and those around you, right? Don't be engaged in self-destructive behavior. We know that. That's the extreme, right? But what about the subtle things of life, the subtle traps of life, the subtle traps of this world? And you know what they look like? They look like chase this and then you'll be happy. Get this and then you'll be happy. Date this one and then you'll be happy. Achieve this and then you'll be happy. Get this car and then you'll be happy. Those are the traps of life. And that is what Instagram has really pretty much done, I think. There's this perfect body that you need to achieve to be happy. But I know a lot of fit people who are miserable. There's a bunch of depressed, fit people in the gym, I'll tell you that. There's a bunch of depressed people driving a Maserati, I'll tell you that. There's a bunch of depressed people in a job that pays $1 million, but at the cost of their peace, I'll tell you that. How did they get there? That's the question. You see, these subtle traps about life, very dangerous, very dangerous. Because you need to think about the unnecessary things that steal your attention, that distract you from your purpose, no matter how attractive they look. Because not every opportunity is your opportunity. I'll tell you that. If you do not decide what truly matters to you, social media, the world, will tell you what is. It would decide for you. And the worst part is, you could spend years with energy, with effort and full attention, climbing a mountain, and you get to the top and you're miserable. And then you realize that you're on the wrong mountain, that you weren't even supposed to be there in the first place. Because why? Because you chose to take someone else's idea of what success looks like. You might get into a relationship with a girl because some guy on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube told you so, right? And in the process, you'll miss out on missing the right person for you. You might achieve career success, but at the cost of your mental health, your peace. You might get a life that you thought you wanted, only to find out it was not yours to begin with. This is why priorities matters. And this is why we need to just reflect on this and set our priorities straight. Because if we don't, we're going to be going around in circles, and we waste our time not going anywhere. So how do you stop chasing the things that don't matter, right? How do you stop chasing the things that are distracting you from your purpose? I think personally, it starts with self-leadership. We live in a time where there's a bunch of followers around. Everybody's following. You can see this in the trends. They go with the trends. They do popular things. They move with the crowd. That's what's trending, right? So that's right. I think self-leadership is about stating what's important to you and sticking to that no matter what. It's the ability to define what's important to you and standing by it, no matter what's trending, no matter what's popular, no matter what's expected. It's built on the values, beliefs, principles, and visions of your life. Leadership is very important because if you do not self-lead yourself, you'll be going in the wrong direction. You will be doing the right things, but you'll be going in the wrong direction. It's like being in LA and having a map of New York, right? You can take all the right turns that the map tells you to, but you are in the wrong place, so you won't get anywhere, right? A right map, it's having the right map in the wrong destination. Leadership makes you understand the right destination. Leadership makes you know that this is the right destination. And hence, you have to be a leader first to be a good manager. The difference between leadership is this, right? Leadership is about vision. It says, I value this and I will not compromise. I will not compromise anything, right? This is my vision for my life and my family and my friends. And no matter how tempting these other paths look like, I won't stray away. Management, on the other hand, is about how the systems, like the steps you take to get to that position, to get to that vision. That's what management is. So this includes habits, this includes the systems, this is the how of getting to that destination. If your vision is to be healthy, then your management would be, oh, I need to sleep 8 hours a day. I need to eat the good whole foods. I need to work out 3 times a week. That is what management is. The problem is that people focus so much on management without a clear vision. They see an idea of what success looks like on TikTok, right? On Instagram. And they say, okay, that is what I want. And another version of success of just someone else on TikTok. And they do everything right to get to that point. And when they get there, they're miserable. They get there, they're miserable because that was not your goal to begin with. That was not something that is important to you. But someone said it was important to them, and they made it look attractive. You adopted it. You go through these motions and you do the right things, but you still feel lost because you never set the right priorities to begin with. The Bible says, where there is no vision, people perish. If you don't have the clear vision for your life, you will get pulled in every direction. Not every opportunity is the right opportunity for you. And that is why prioritizing the right things is so important. Because when you choose the right priorities, you align with God's purpose. Here's a story for you. There's this young man called Solomon. His dad, called David, dies. Solomon, by all traditions and rites, is supposed to be the next king, right? But he's young, inexperienced, right? So, and he had every reason to feel overwhelmed by the whole thing. Something incredible happened. He was sleeping, and God appeared to him in a dream and gave him a blank check. You know what that blank check was? God said, ask for anything and I'll give it to you. Now think about it. If you had one wish, no limits, what would you ask for? Think about that. No limits. What would you ask for? Is it money? Is it health? Is it power? Is it success? Solomon could have asked for anything, but instead he asked for wisdom. And that choice pleased God. Because Solomon prioritized wisdom over wealth and power, God gave him something even more. Not only did God give him wisdom, but also wealth, success, victory over his enemies. This is how priorities work. When you align your desires with the right things, everything else follows. When you align your priorities in the service of something greater, greater than the material, of something in service of God, everything else comes into place. This isn't just about kings. It applies to you as well. Your priorities shape your life in ways you don't realize. Here are some ways that your priorities shape your life. Number one, your priorities shape your destiny. Every decision that you make today is leading somewhere. You are here today because of the decision that you made yesterday. I hate to break it to you. The question then is these priorities leading you where you actually want to be or where God wants you to be? That is your question to think about. Number two, misplaced priorities lead to distraction. Have you ever, started working on a project and then your phone is next to you and then you grab it, you start scrolling on TikTok, and the next thing you know, 2 hours has gone by and this project is undone. You've not done anything on the project. That's how life works too. Small distractions, they add up. If you don't stay focused on what matters, you'll get pulled in every direction and you'll get lost.
and you miss your purpose. Number 3, your priorities that determine your capacity. Think of life like a suitcase, right? Think of your life like a suitcase. If you pack it full of small, unimportant things, there's no room for big, important things. But if you pack big things first, everything else fits around them. And what I mean by big things is like faith, love, work ethic, courage, kindness, honesty, all these things, family. These big things. If you pack your life with those big things, the small things like TikTok, your vices, porn, drugs, sleeping in late, not taking care of your health, all those things, they don't have power over you because your suitcase is already full with the important things. Everything else will fit around those big things. What you prioritize determines how much you can handle in this life. If you prioritize the big things, you will be able to handle the big things of life. If you prioritize the small things, you won't be able to handle the big things in life. That I can guarantee you. Number 4, priorities. Your priorities reflect your values. You might say health is important, but if you never exercise or eat well, it really isn't. I hate to break it to you. You might say relationships matter to you, but if you never invest in your friends and the people around you, you don't value relationships. I hate to break it to you. What you do says more about you than what you wish you were and what you say you are. So if you watch someone real closely, they will show you who they are. If you watch someone real closely, they will show you who they are by what they prioritize. And lastly, priorities will shape your life because priorities determine your future. Your future success is a direct result of the priorities you set today. If you focus on short-term pleasure, you will sacrifice long-term success. If you focus on building something meaningful, you build something. If you focus on something meaningful, your future self will thank you. I think I've talked way too much. I think we need to wrap this up. And today's conversation was really nice for me to just sit down and think about priorities and what they mean to me. I hope I gave you something to think about because at the end of the day, what you choose to prioritize, I'll hammer this in your head. At the end of the day, what you choose to prioritize today will determine the future you want to experience tomorrow. So take the time, go ahead and reflect on these words. Adjust, commit, or reevaluate your life. Set your priorities straight. It's going to be hard at first because it's a major change, but I know you have the right intention. I know you have the right intentions. I have no doubt about that, but just prove it with your actions. Anyway, I am not done. I'm just going to go for the second. I am not done. This is just the first episode of our series. So the priorities series is on. Stay tuned next week on a Sunday for another episode. In the next episode, we are going to be going a little bit further. We're going to talk about how to identify your true priorities. We'll go deeper in this. So if you ever feel overwhelmed by everything in your life or what's on your plate or what you're struggling with you're trying to figure out what's actually important to you, what's worth your time and what's not, that this next episode is going to be an episode for you. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you stay tuned and don't miss out. And I will see you next time on my next episode. It's your boy Richard. God move. Peace.